this set up. We got to start recording a Rumble video before I do anything else. Shout out to getting that Rumble video working. Let's see. We're going to put it on our smoking scene. Shouts out to that. Hit record. And drop that down. Alright, so of course, y'all already know what it is. Welcome back, Team DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. Y'all already know what time it is. 6 p.m. Wednesday. It's a little couple, like 4 minutes after 6. But 6 p.m. Wednesday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, aka another day in paradise. Y'all already know your favorite YouTube content creator is on here doing his thing, and I'm consistent corner with it, so we're gonna keep doing our thing. Yeah, I like that. Leave something in my drink. Nope, that motherfucker is gone. I need to grab me a drink, get some music or something playing. Nah, we ain't doing no music. We got videos to review. Let me turn this around, see what it looked like today. See what it looked like today. And go to our playlist. Shouts out to having a playlist ready to go. Because, that's what we do. We get the playlist cultivating in this piece. And then we just make the videos make themselves, right? They line up and do what they supposed to do. I'm on the wrong channel, Fred. This is why it don't look right. That's the cultivating channel. Shouts out to the cultivation channel. We've been back grinding hard over there. It's Hustle Mania 2025. So we doing our thing over there. Y'all see we recently hit 1,550 subs on Spider Pig. Shouts out to the pig, man. He been putting in that work. We ain't gonna talk too much about him. He got his own channel. You dig? Y'all go over there and keep up with him. But anyways, let's just hit play all so y'all can get straight into it.
The craziest drugs that you have never heard of. At this point in YouTube history, I think everybody has watched at least one video about crazy or obscure drugs. And while these videos are interesting, usually if you've seen one, you've seen them all. And typically the entries are rather surface level. Fortunately, this video is different. We're gonna cover drugs that are so random and so unknown by the general public that even super niche internet communities don't know about them. Oh yeah, and this list gets crazier as it goes on. Let's begin. Salvinorin B methoxymethyl ether. If you thought of salvia when you heard salvinorin in the jumbled mess of scientific smart people speak, then you would be correct. But this isn't just regular salvia. This video is about drugs you've never heard of, and this stuff is way crazier than regular salvia. In fact, I think a good name for this would be super salvia. But in case you're unfamiliar with regular salvia, let me recap quickly. You see, with regular salvia, from every trip report that I've seen, using salvia is almost a guaranteed miserable time. And even at that, the bar is so low for salvia that even a good experience is pretty much just not being as traumatized as the majority of people that take it. But salvinorin B isn't regular salvia. This drug is salvia's crackhead cousin. Honestly, for all intents and purposes, this drug is probably one of the most cursed compounds ever made for a variety of reasons. For starters, the National Library of Medicine states that this chemical is among the most potent and selective kappa opioids known. And in this case, stronger is not always better. To this date, there has only ever been one reliable salvinorin B trip report. And that's simply because even some of the most seasoned psychonauts don't want to touch it. Likely because it's a cursed compound with a ridiculously long half-life. According to sources, salvinorin B is 5 times more potent than salvinorin A and lasts for a duration of 2 to 3 hours. which brings using this drug into the realm of sheer insanity. If you are crazy enough to want to try this drug, you would need to heavily mentally prepare yourself beforehand, because breakthrough drugs like salvia and DMT are known to cause time dilation, which means that your trip could feel longer than it actually is in real life. Time dilation is one of those things that's commonly discussed online, yet nobody really knows how or why it happens. In a post I found on the DMT forum, a user states, "I felt like I lived an entirely different life in the DMT world. It felt like 10 years or so. I even had a family." And if that's not crazy enough, another user commented on this post saying, "This happened to me on salvia, and I had absolutely no awareness of this life. I lived a whole lifetime in another life, and then zap, I'm in my bedroom. It was unsettling to me." And another user discussing his trip wrote, "What feels like an eternity only lasted 15 minutes. Keep in mind, this is just regular salvia, which only lasts 5 to 20 minutes. Considering salvinorin B is 5 times more potent and lasts about 15 times longer, it's no wonder why so few even dare to try it. So what happened to the person that did take this compound? Well, for that we actually need to look at the research paper. Yeah, a research paper. The doctors here had the psychonaut in the study measure his dose in micrograms, which is extremely tiny. An average dose of regular salvia is measured in milligrams, which is obviously much more. The psychonaut in this study, which is basically just a fancy name for someone who likes psychedelics, said the following about his experience with salvinorin B. "My head was observed to retract, and my face was frozen in a frighteningly blank expression as if I were having a stroke. My hands adopted a strange pose and waved around very slowly, alternately creepily awkward and graceful. I remembered none of this." Then, when talking about actually breaking through on the chemical, which basically means losing track of your current reality and entering hyperspace, they wrote, "I wasn't actually perceiving any objects in my environment. It was my mind that I was perceiving, as a manifestation of the movement of a 5-dimensional object through a 4-dimensional membrane." Whatever that means. Considering this was such a minuscule dose, I can't imagine the trip report someone might come back with if they took a full send level dose. Luckily for you guys, there is actually one other trip report on the entire internet, although it isn't reliable as an actual research paper. This trip report is simply titled, "I cannot comprehend what happened," and it's actually written by a career chemist who synthesized the compound himself, and upon taking it was transported into an entirely different life in the 1950s. This is his quote on the experience. "I fell through my floor into an endless array of eerie sounds. I eventually reached the bottom and felt my body hit the ground. A creature walked towards me and grabbed me by the neck and said, in a disturbing voice. Then he threw me up and I landed. I stood up and realized that I was in the 1950s. The trip went from impossible events to me simply existing in a different time. I walked around on this street and found a newspaper on the ground. I could read each and every article, and on the top it read August 6th, 1953. I didn't know that it wasn't real. It was all I knew. I could remember my life, but it wasn't me. It was the life of a person that I was in 1953. I could remember my childhood, school years, first job, everything. As potentially cool as it may seem to almost time travel, this one part of this one story doesn't make this compound seem any less terrifying. 4-CMA. Like many of the obscure chemicals on this list, finding information on 4-CMA is not easy. That's because 4-CMA is a research chemical. If you don't know what research chemicals are, they're basically synthetic chemicals that were Frankensteined in a lab as part of a research project in an attempt to either improve on an existing chemical or to create an entirely new drug. Basically, research chemicals are the result of scientists crafting random stuff like they're brewing potions in Minecraft. The thing is, most of these chemicals don't make the cut, typically because they either have terrible side effects or they aren't useful medically, or they just lost funding on the research. If the established drugs that most people know about are the tip of the iceberg, then research chemicals pretty much cover the rest of the iceberg all the way to the bottom. 4-CMA is a research chemical that was originally synthesized in the 1960s, as it was supposed to be a stimulant that behaved similarly to an amphetamine. Despite what scientists expected, however, 4-CMA had a much more antidepressant effect than stimulant effect in test subjects. But because it was mildly pleasant to use, drug dealers actually pressed this into their own pills to evade authorities. According to sources, 4-CMA was first identified at the Tomorrowland Festival in 2015, where a tablet was found in the possession of a drug dealer. Then it seemed to have disappeared while a study conducted in 2019 reported detection of 4-CMA in pills once again. Now you might be curious, why is the slightly pleasant antidepressant on this list? Well, it turns out that this drug is highly neurotoxic to its users. In studies done with rats, it was found to permanently reduce serotonin, and in further studies done on it, it was also found that, quote, administration of 4-CMA caused a prolonged reduction in the levels of serotonin in the brain 1 month after ingestion injecting a single dose of the drug. In other words, it physically kills your serotonin receptors permanently. Now, to make things worse, there are still vendors that are knowingly selling this toxic chemical with no regard for the general public. This is bad because these drugs can easily end up in a wide variety of recreational pressed pills that are sold on the black market. In regards to this, in the Research Chemicals subreddit, one user wrote, "Nice. A substance that could fry your brain like only a lifetime of MDMA use could in one sitting," which I feel is pretty accurate. And it's even been reported that abusing this chemical could leave you with, quote, "an irreversible depression that would be like an MDMA come down every day for the rest of your life." Although it's been speculating that reaching this state would require multiple large doses over a long period of time, if you don't want to take the chance at permanently damaging your serotonin neurons, I would strongly recommend staying away from this drug. I almost want to call 4-CMA super MDMA, but it's really not the case. It's honestly just the worst of both worlds. The upside of MDMA is completely subdued in 4-CMA, and the downside of MDMA is amplified to such an extreme degree there is absolutely no value in the trade-off. Pyros. No, not the TF2 pyro. Pyros is an abbreviated word for the class of drugs known as pyrrolidinopherones, and they're pretty much crack on crack. If you remember the bath salts epidemic from about a decade ago, well, pyros are to blame. They're pretty well known in the fringe drug community as being the most addictive class of chemicals on Earth. And when I say most addictive, I'm talking about 20 times more addictive than crack. These drugs are absolutely insane, and they don't even hold a candle to the mainstream drugs known for their addictiveness. For example, with commonly known drugs, most people actively decide to stop using it before their supply runs out. This is definitely not the case with this stuff. Barely anyone in recorded history has started using a supply of pyros and just stopped halfway through out of sheer willpower. In most stories on the internet, people who start a stash of pyros only end their days-long bender because they became full-blown psychotic and ended up in a psych ward, or if they're lucky, started seeing shadow people early on and got scared enough to flush the rest of their supply down the toilet. But this stuff is so addictive that I'm convinced somebody has flushed their stash down the toilet and then immediately gone sewer diving afterwards on a quest to find his precious like Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Because of this, even the most seasoned drug users won't take this stuff because the compulsion to take more is practically impossible to overcome. In hindsight, it's no wonder we had a bath salts zombie epidemic. Just to clarify, bath salts are literally just pyros. Imagine you're trying to quit a chemical that's 50 times more addictive than crack, and every time you make a stop at the gas station for your nightly Twinkies, a scraggly old dude in the back who smells like salami is tempting you to buy it for a couple bucks. The thing about the bath salts epidemic was that whenever authorities finally got around to outlawing the latest chemical, the drug lords that sold them would just hire some armchair chemist on the internet to look for slightly different chemicals on the dark web that kinda looked the same. Keep in mind, they wouldn't even know what the side effects would be. So basically, they were pretty much just selling random research chemicals to homeless people as test subjects. Because of this, a lot of people got caught up in bath salts addiction around 2012 because they had no idea how addictive they would be. But that's not even it. The most diabolical aspect of pyros is that they make you extremely horny. I'm not joking. Like a 64-hour ed session with no break or sleep until you literally pass out from exhaustion or get submitted to urgent care. They say that meth can turn you into a gooning degenerate, but this stuff is like meth times 5. To make matters even worse, somewhere along the way, armchair chemists on the internet somehow figured to conveniently turn this compound into vape juice, which pretty much makes this invention the world's worst jewel. So the next time your mom gets mad at you for your vaping addiction, feel free to remind her that there's some 45-year-old dude with scraggly hair in this basement vaping super crack and jorking it for 10 days straight. The amount of gooning behavior pyros cause would literally make your average Discord moderator look like a Buddhist monk. Long story short, outside of their extremely addictive qualities, these drugs are well known for turning you into a D1 gooner. Like legitimately the Michael Jordan of gooning. From what I've read, this drug easily makes you the biggest degenerate in the world. Trust me when I say, pyros are one diabolical class of drugs. 5-MeO-DMT. 5-MeO-DMT is basically DMT's mysterious grandfather. If you think the sorcerers we talked about in the medieval video were mysterious, you'll be even more intrigued by this chemical compound. This chemical is sometimes nicknamed the God molecule, and surprisingly, unlike other chemicals on this list, this substance is actually naturally occurring. But this isn't...
Let's see, the channel I'm on right now has been at 1,300 for like a couple months. Been at 1,200 for like the last year before that. But hell yeah, it's good to see you hitting them numbers. The only thing now you got to do is make sure you keep up with the content, keep up with them watch hours. Just remember, everything you put into hustling to get watch hours now is what you're going to have to keep putting into the hustle to keep the watch hours. Because they fall off every fucking day. Yesterday's watch hours have already fell out. And that's that BS, right? Right.
found in a mushroom or tree bark like normal drugs. 5-MeO-DMT is naturally occurring in toad venom, of all things. I mean, talk about hardcore. Unlike the more forgiving and consistently spiritual.
See, that's my current problem now, like, is my watch hours. See, I don't even care about the monetization. Shouts out to the Buy Me a Coffee. For those who don't know, I don't know how new you guys are, but y'all don't know. But anyways, I've been monetized using Buy Me a Coffee since I found Buy Me a Coffee, which is good for me because I don't have to worry about watch hours or people watching or none of that. I just make sure that people know, hey, you can support me and get all the membership perks off the Buy Me a Coffee.
Trip brought on by regular DMT. Whether or not 5-MeO-DMT is going to be a glowing spiritual experience or an existential crisis was basically a coin flip. And that's a problem, because if you choose to inhale this stuff, it is reported that this trip could last up to 2 hours, which is 8 times longer than regular DMT's duration of roughly 15 minutes. And unlike most psychedelics, in which people usually report pleasant experience.
Well, here's the ultimate trick to your getting your watch hours, though, because since you actually have the audience now, you go back and look at your most popular videos, and then you redo those videos. Now, if they're lives, you just keep the same theme, and you want to redo things you've already done, but improve on it, so that way people will watch more of that part, right? Say, for instance, when I first hit my monetization qualifications, I threw a monetization celebration over here on YouTube. Well, that's one of my highest viewed videos. So then every time I'm feeling froggy, I'll just copy that same concept. Like, hey, we're throwing a monetization party. I've been monetized, but guess what? The party still, people are still ready to kick it, which is what I'm saying. So that's what you want to do. You want to focus on the things that people have already liked and then reproduce that again and make it better. You know, you take the wheel and put a better spoke on it to where it keeps it cracking. What up to that big homie? Y'all know to go check out at DJ Is. Y'all know he hacked my page the other day on one of my channels. He didn't really do it. I just said he did because I was stealing his content. Shouts out to the big up and the homeboy whenever you was thinking about him. You know, that's how I do it. I said, oh, my page was hacked by DJ Is because, you know, I was listening to that good old school slappers. Shouts out to y'all for keeping up with me, though.
When
What
they
do you
use
say?
the drug
Fire
with
in the hole.
reverence and respect, 5-MeO-DMT doesn't care how nicely you treat it. And that sucks, because if you have a bad time, you could have a very bad time for up to 2 hours. Additionally, in my armchair psychologist opinion, I'd wager that a bad trip on 5-MeO-DMT is at least 10 times worse than a bad trip on regular DMT. To prove this point, I'm calling upon a popular website known to host trip reports. On this website, there's a category for bad trips. For context, with regular DMT, some titles of bad trip reports include First Breakthrough, Ego Loss and Bad Trip, Accelerating the Evil and Ego Death, A Cautionary Tale, Unprepared Liftoff, Worst Case Scenario, and Too Much for the First Time. Which, to be honest, pretty much sounds like they either took too much or experienced ego death, which is kind of a normie experience with psychedelics. Now, on the other hand,
Oh, that's
here
what
are
you
the
come to your
titles
boy for. You know, we got all the cheat codes because, hell, whether I'm using them or not, I'm learning what they are. So when I know somebody that need to get them, hey, watch time hours is one of those things you don't want to do nothing extra to get them. You just go back and improve on those things that got you watches in the first place because you don't want to be having to go live every day because then the next thing you know, for the next 20 years, you're going to be stuck going live every day. Like, man, I need to go live so I can keep up my watch hours. Nah. You need to figure out which of your videos get watched and recopy that process, make more of that so people watch more of the video versus you trying to go live every day. Because, hey, that's the trap right there because then you'll get the watch hours, but then you'll be stuck going live every day to keep up with watch hours. Oh, no. We want to make content that people are actually watching so they don't just watch 4 minutes and 20 seconds of the video. They watch 4 hours and 30 minutes of a live because guess what? That's what they want to see anyways. Man, hey, it's a process. It's definitely a process. That's just like these videos. Hell, I be watching the hell out of these shits, and then I gotta remember I can't watch them all damn day because I gotta rewatch them to record. And then if the recording don't go right, I gotta re-record it to get the recording right. So now I done watched the same video 10 times in 1 week. Then you be bored and falling asleep during that motherfucker, but it happens.
bad trip reports on 5-MeO-DMT. Existential horror. pure horror, facing psychedelic terror, unimaginable depths of terror, and I ended up praying to Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
as long as you don't
it's
mind
not a
going
super
live
fun
every
way to
day,
spend
go
your
ahead and go
Sunday
live
afternoon.
every day.
Honestly,
Hell
as a
yeah,
word of
get
caution,
that work.
if you're
Hustle
prone to
mania.
existential anxiety, I would shy away from reading any bad trip reports altogether. Now, it seems like a common theme in these reports that people actually think that they're about to die or actually dying while on the drug. Now, I don't know about you, but taking a drug that makes me believe I'm actually dead and now my only
Hey,
friends are
that's what
Casper
we
the
do.
Ghost, the Grim Reaper,
At
and
work,
Harambe
putting in
totally
work.
sounds like a blast. Not. One reason for these reoccurring death themes in
Fourth and
trips
fifth
might be that
dimensional.
5-MeO-DMT is one of the
Shouts
only
out to Mr.
psychedelics that
Putty
has
It.
the actual capability to kill you.
Get
You
him
see,
to say his
usually
name better
psychedelics
for
can't
you.
kill you unless you do something really dumb under the influence. 5-MeO-DMT is different though, because unlike most psychedelics, this drug has caused death in at least 2 cases, with the 3 major causes being, quote, suffocation after vomiting, lung shutting down, and cardiac arrest. One interesting trip report I found about 5-MeO-DMT wrote, I cannot emphasize enough how extremely weird, alien, and utterly cosmic this felt. Like I'd broken some type of rule and I'd entered an entirely different universe of some type. If you ask me, 5-MeO-DMT is nothing to mess with, at all. Before we get into the last entry on this list, I want to make 2 quick notes. 1, this video was actually a top 10, not top 5, but because of time reasons, we cut it in half. With that being said, the second part to this video is even crazier than this first part you're currently watching. Due to the nature of this video, it's rather risky for me to post videos like this, so unless you guys really want part 2, I likely won't post it. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the next even more crazy compounds, please tell me you want it in the comments, and maybe if this video gets 20,000 likes, we'll do it. So with that being said, let's get to the last entry
20K
on
likes,
this
goddamn.
list, technically the first half, Duster. I know what you might be thinking. What on earth do you mean by duster? The nickname your elementary school bully gave you in 4th grade? A brush for dusting furniture? An American indie rock band from San Jose, California that was formed in 1996? Okay, nobody was thinking that one. No, I mean air duster. Air duster is the one drug that I can't state this clearly enough, you never want to use. And the reason is way more insidious than you may think. Duster kills your brain cells. By the way, air duster is not just compressed air in a can. The reason air duster is actually considered a drug is because it's mostly a refrigerant, not air. And because this gas is heavier than air, when most people are using it, their voice becomes very deep
And my voice gets really low.
and sounds like a monster. Basically, when you inhale, the chemical replaces all of the oxygen in your lungs and removes carbon dioxide in the same way that regular air does. All the while, your body is getting tricked into thinking that it's inhaling oxygen because there's no carbon dioxide building up. This causes the user to get hypoxic, which is basically another word for painless brain suffocation. Essentially, duster makes you suffocate without your brain sending you into fight or flight mode, which often causes euphoria as a byproduct. This might sound cool or fun until you realize that every time you get high, you're giving yourself insane amounts of brain damage. This is because your brain can only bear around 2 to 5 minutes of hypoxia before your brain cells die permanently. To make things even worse, usually duster abusers will use this stuff for hours on end, or until they pass out. So instead of just minutes of killing their brain cells, they're doing it for hours a day. According to numerous anecdotal sources I've seen across online, this is one of the hardest
That
drugs
ain't
in the
cool,
world
is
to
it?
quit. I know this sounds ridiculous, but this is a reoccurring theme on this list. For example, in a post titled My Story of Air Duster Addiction, one user on Reddit wrote about how addictive this stuff can really be. In this post, he writes about the first time he tried it. Quote, "One blast and I was done for. I felt like I needed to feel this way for the rest of my life. I cannot describe the euphoria." Then, according to his story, he went to rehab, but immediately after he got out, he relapsed, writing, "I got a job that I lost, but I received a paycheck for around $200 and it literally went on a ridiculous binge on Duster in my car in the Walmart parking lot. I easily huffed over 50 cans in a 48-hour period. I seriously couldn't stop." He ends the story with saying, quote, "This stuff will make a mess of you and will take you down faster than any hard drugs out there. This is not some kiddie drug. Like I've said, I've tried everything, and nothing is compared to the insane rush of euphoria you get from Duster. If you use Duster, even short lengths of abuse can cause permanent brain damage, serious memory problems, seizures, loss of IQ, a loss of one's ability to focus, confusion, a permanent loss of coordination, permanent slurred speech, and death." With that being said, the biggest reason to not use Duster is the fact that Walmart, of all things, would become your new drug dealer, which might be one of the lamest ways to die of all time. On a big forum called Do You Know Anyone Who Permanently Fried Their Brain from Drugs? To nobody's surprise, Duster, and inhalants in general, was the most commonly mentioned drug in the replies. And that's because because most drugs don't kill your brain matter. Many of them will change your brain's chemistry, but in most cases, your brain can make a full recovery over a long enough period of time. But this is not the case with Duster. In response to this question, one person in this thread wrote, I worked at a movie theater, had a coworker who was above average intelligence. He got into inhaling air cans. After 3 months, he was pretty much the dumbest person I ever knew. He didn't make much sense and he thought everything was so funny. Another user wrote about their Duster experience, and I think it's safe to say that this stuff is definitely no joke. According to the poster, they, quote, probably inhaled dust off 3 to 10 times a day for 2 years. Then they talk about when they finally quit it. Quote, by the time I stopped, I could not understand language much. I couldn't understand the concept of family or why anything worked how it was supposed to work. Sometimes I read and words suddenly looked like foreign shapes to me and I can't decode them in my head. I'm lucky I'm not like that to this day. Yeah. Definitely don't take this drug if you value your life. I'd wager even the most hardcore drug nerds out there haven't heard of at least one of the chemicals I mentioned on this list. But if not, don't worry, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Because like I mentioned earlier, there is another list ready to go if you guys want it. To summarize, some key takeaways are, don't use 5-MeO-DMT unless you want to buy a 2-hour timeshare in the shadow realm. If the weird guy from high school who took way too much interest in organic chemistry tells you he has some super salvia, don't take it. If a smelly looking guy with a blank stare starts eyeballing the air duster in your shopping cart at Walmart, don't give it to him. Don't ever take black market MDMA at a rave because it might cause an endless depression. And don't listen to anyone that says using bath salts is a good idea. And please, for the love of God, don't hit someone else's bath salts vape, especially if it feels sticky. Source? Trust me, bro. If you want to procrastinate even longer or stay up even later, check out this video about 7 weird ways you would have died in the dark ages.
Shout out to bro. Y'all don't go check out his original content. Hey, it's better to take some people's word for it sometimes, right? Right.
333. 3 is the number of communication. So when anyone sees those 3 numbers together, they have to basically start communicating more. Whether it be going to a party, you have to be more social. 555, there might be a baby on the way. 5 is the number of sexual energy. 666, 6 is the number of family. So again, most people think that's some kind of...
Oh my God.
Most people think that's a negative number.
Is that why they make it so negative? Because they're against the family unit?
Exactly. So it's not just that, but think about it this way. 666 is not the number of the devil, okay? There might be a devil, I'm not saying he doesn't exist, but 666 is not the number. 666 is the number of time itself. 60 minutes in an hour, 6 and 0, 6. 60 seconds in a minute, 6 and 0 and 6. And 24 hours in a day, there's your 666. Very simple.
What are the reasons that people see these 3 numbers?
So here's the thing.
That cannot be coincidence.
No, of course not. Here's the thing. Everyone sees those numbers. Most people just aren't aware of it. They think of it's a coincidence.
Shout out to Gary the numbers guy. Right. Right. Shout out to these guys. Where was they at this week? I don't remember seeing them. But guess what? We're not mad because they got real lives too.
Why they so mad? Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. I'll spin the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year, and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready. So mad, cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. I'll spin the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year, and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready to clash. Yeah. Graduated from the street to the top of my class. You want the more, then let's get it. I told you I live it, all you had to do is just ask. I know before I was chillin', just trying to get big, it's not all of that shit in the past. I take it up to the ceiling, however you will, just so that you ready for class. Run down, I do this shit with no mask. If they won't call it a race, we gon' lap on. Cry like a baby when you get back at them. They here for the now, but they never gon' last. Why? Slip through my life like a turtle, but you get too close and I'm ready to snap. Rules to the game and they all universal. If you break a rule, then you never come back. Living my life, I'm just chillin'. Big plate, I'm gon' eat, they gon' eat out the trash. Once they find out you a clown, gotta leave out of town and you never come back. I sit around many counters, I'm loving the sound that it make when they get to a stack. And I show nothing but love, but if you a hater, then fuck ya, I know I so mad. Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. I'll spin the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year, and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready. So mad, cause they see me on on the come up, I'm just getting started. I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating. Don't talk about popping no tag. I spend the block cause I'm patient. Come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it. I hope that you ready to clash.
100K play, honey bun K. You don't want smoke with this right here. Know what you say, swing by your way. Get caught in my headlights like, yeah, watch what you say. Don't be comprey. Internet niggas is so damn weird. I'm from the
This shit slaps, Scully.
Told you before that this song.
So
No slick, no
soup.
Big business, no suit. Sedan truck, no coupe. Long leg room, big shoes. Mirror crop, my move. All my ops is food. All my ops was fools. Hardcore like ice cubes. Always move, no snooze. All this smoke,
they
no
can try to
booze.
hate.
All good days, no blues. Except for what I got in pocket, cause you know I'm gon' get it.
Y'all know to go check out Scully this weekend. He probably gonna be doing another reading. Who's feeling better, I hope.
Don't blame me for all of your goals unachieved. You just a whole nigga.
Why they so mad? Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started. I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating. Don't talk about popping no tag. I'll spend the block cause I'm patient. Come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it. I hope that you ready so mad. Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started. I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating. Don't talk about popping no tag. I'll spend the block cause I'm patient. Come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it. I hope that you ready to clash.
Hey, y'all know they straight spitting fire over there. Go check out the chat. What's this, Miranda Elliott?
I just came across this envelope. It was a prize that I got in the mail from Echo. Living your best life. And I obviously had lost it because it was from a pretty long time ago. Her and Yoda. Some baseball cards. So I got, let's see if I can get the light on this better. Apparently not. So I got Ed Roush. Let's see what else I got. Manny Minosa. And George Foster. And I had put these up so I wouldn't lose them, so I could get them into my card binder. But of course, they slipped behind something. But I'm glad I found them. Thank y'all. Bye.
Shouts out to Belinda for having some hobbies.
On a live note, auto weed entrepreneurs from Queens were busted for operating an illegal pot dispensary.
Now, y'all already know, bro got another channel, because, you know, that's what we do. With YouTube content creators, we get one channel where we want to get it, then we start the next one. You dig? Because we got multiple things we thinking about, so we got multiple things we doing today. So then whenever I'm doing some shit that I do, like right now watching videos on YouTube, I could just hit record. Shout out to hitting record now. I'm making a Rumble video in studio quality, in case you like the studio quality better than the YouTube lives. Because you know how we do. We just get it done, and then y'all can pick which way y'all want to watch it, right? If you want to just stay cool with the YouTube, you stay on YouTube. If you want to go to Rumble and see the studio quality, you go over there, then you be like, man, it's a nice show. Nice show. Now I see what he's talking about, because you actually see everything I'm doing versus me being an on and off camera. You dig?
Out of a converted school bus in Rockaway. Beach Boys Buds operated from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week and sold a varied assortment of unregulated weed products. The DA's office said worried community members were the ones that flagged the illicit business.
Wow, worried community members flag the illicit business. That's absolutely crazy, but there are a few things about this story that I found interesting. And first off, is that this is not the first of its kind. Out in Florida, there's actually a pretty similar situation which occurred actually quite recently. So we're gonna have a look at that. But it's really interesting how crazy and creative some of these people are getting when it comes to actually what they're doing. And also how things can get mixed up when you got, especially when you throw in legal hemp and illegal marijuana into the mix. So let's take it down to Florida and see what's going on over there, because they had a similar situation pop off as well.
Deputies arrested 3 people in Polk County for operating a marijuana bus called Cannabis. Authorities say they were selling medical marijuana and recreational marijuana under the table.
And this comes as Florida voters will have a chance to decide on legalizing recreational marijuana.
You know, I watched this the other day when he first posted it. So, like he said, the first thing they're going to say is they were not requiring medical cards. If you're a medical company, the first thing you can do is just require medical cards. I mean, you could just get over legally on the government by saying that. Well, hold on. I only was offering products to medical patients, meaning they had to prove they were medical patients. Shout out to that cultivation authorization, because that in itself is the medical authorization in Missouri. Shout out for knowing your laws, because, you know, that's what I keep telling you. Know what your laws are, baby. And you can do whatever the fuck you want. As long as you ain't breaking them too bad, I'll pay the fine. I'll pay the fine. Pay that money. Yeah. That's why I made it. Yeah.
November, and as ABC Action News Polk County reporter Rebecca Petit found out today, the sheriff is making his opinion very clear.
This bus, labeled Cannabis Mobile Dispensary, rolled up to a shopping center.
Yo, the buses always look so what's the word I'm looking for? Conspicuous, the opposite of inconspicuous. Like if you're trying to do something on the down low, incognito, you do not have it looking like this, guys. And in the previous video, we actually seen it looking like it was painted in full-on Rasta colors. Like, what are you guys thinking? Are you guys trying to get caught, or are you guys like, well, I don't know. Please explain it to me, because have a look at, this was the previous one. This is out in New York, Queens, New York, and this is the one out in Florida. They got all of the logos on it. They got the phone number, the Instagram. They got like literally, it's like a smoke shop on it. Absolutely crazy. You guys did not think that through.
Labeled Cannabis Mobile Dispensary, rolled up to a shopping center parking lot near Claremont on August 14th.
And you pull up at a shopping center car park. Like, bro, do you want everyone to see? You want max visibility for sure then. That's definitely what I understand. You want max visibility. You went to a marketing class and you guys are super smart about this. Even though you guys were running some borderline unlawful stuff.
Polk County deputies arrested 3 people for illegally selling marijuana.
And it says it's so
public just to crash out, man. They crazy for that.
Arrested 3 people for illegally selling marijuana.
Wow.
So they had cocaine.
Bro, wait, pause. What? So it was not just the good old herb? You guys are on that Scarface shit too? Oh, jeez and ages, bro. That shit's wild. No wonder.
They said they was on that Tony Montana.
Let's keep it rolling.
Illegal marijuana.
Oh, man.
So they had cocaine as well as illegal marijuana. But the front was that this was medical marijuana and legal hemp.
The exterior of the bus states no medical card is required to purchase marijuana within.
They advertise online that we're the first recreational dispensary of cannabis. And that's not legal.
Possession of recreational marijuana is still a crime under Florida law. Marijuana is currently only legal in Florida for people who have a medical marijuana ID card, which is given to those who have been diagnosed by a doctor. Once
No, I don't want you guys to get too upset about the sheriff in this situation. This sheriff is actually a guy called Sheriff Grady Judd, J-U-D-D. And I did a little bit of a research into him and some of his stances when it comes to different things. So even when it comes to the Amendment 3, which was proposed down in Florida, a lot of people had concerns over that, in particular the fact that it might just put everything into the hands of the big corporations, but also the fact that it did not allow for home grows. And what I did like about what he said, so as you guys can see down here, it says that they also claimed the amendment.
That's the one good thing I keep letting these motherfuckers know about Missouri, baby. We got our fucking cultivation authorization off the flip. So that was like, as soon as they went medical, yeah, medical got cultivation off the flip. So hey, that's why I've always had my fucking medical since I heard that. I was like, hey, did you hear what they said? Hell, I'm gonna just sit my ass at home and put in that homework. If you ain't got shit to do at home, I know why you ain't smoking good. Yeah, this is out in them streets where the motherfucking problems is. The motherfucking tree at home. At least here in Missouri. Shout out to most hated bronze flat power guy, big bro in the building. Y'all know to go thumbs him up and salutes.
This would have happened. And just to sort of break that down, a lot of people refer to that in the legal world as the but-for test. But for something happening, that would not have happened. So let's use an example. If you step into the middle of the road and you get hit by a car, but for you walking into the road and not looking left or looking right, you would not have got hit by the car. Now that's a really basic example, but that's basically how the but-for test applies. Now,
unless you watching anime, because truck coon, car coon, you know, that motherfucker just be pulling up out of nowhere. He be on demon time. You that body, he ready to catch. You see what I'm saying? I wonder what his body count is. Ask the motherfucking creator about that. What is truck coon's body count? We must know so we can organize and assimilate for our day.
It actually also goes on to say that Sheriff Judd says, by the way, if this was for the legalization of marijuana, why can't you grow a plant in your backyard? Which is the big question, and which is what a lot of people had issue with. Why are you still prohibiting home grows? Why are you still forcing people to go to the big corporations of whom they're only going to have a handful of them that control everything? That's pretty much going to monopolize everything, and no one wanted that, and no one liked it. So in that sense, I understand what Sheriff Judd was saying, and honestly, he's just doing his job, but at least he has a common sense approach to some of these issues.
You know, today's National Joke Day, and Confucius said, he who smokes weed on the toilet is high on pot. So this is no joke.
At least he's got jokes. At least he's got jokes. Shout out to Sheriff.
This is an abuse of what the people of the state of Florida intended to be medical marijuana for the very sickest. Now, let me tell you something that just shocks me. We have patrol cars there. We have an investigation underway. 4 people show up, walk around the marked patrol cars, and say, I'd like to buy some. With us there, with us standing there.
People just don't give an F, bro. Like, we're trying to get our flower now, bro. In the mall car park, they see the police car over there, they think it's all legit. That's probably the point of it, man. They definitely think it's all above board, when it really wasn't. So, again, it's absolutely crazy. But let's keep on listening to this story, guys.
You should not buy marijuana from a cannabis because it's illegal and it'll get you arrested. Just ask these owners who paid absolutely no attention to the law. Now, Daniel, he's just an employee.
They paid no attention to the law.
He only had 28 criminal charges, 16 misdemeanors, 12 felonies. He's been to prison once. Jimmy's been to prison 4 times. Let me introduce you to Jimmy Andrew. He's 40, and his wife, Bianca Andrew, who's 35. They are business owners, small business owners. They own a marijuana bus. That's right. They call it the cannabis. And they drive this around to different areas and sell illegal marijuana. Make no mistake, they have legal hemp in this bus as well.
So that sort of takes us finally to the closing point of this video, guys. How are you able to distinguish between that legal hemp and that illegal marijuana? The THCA stuff, which I believe is littered everywhere in Florida, versus what is actually illegal. But I want to find out what you guys think about this crazy story when it comes to the cannabuses popping up in New York and Florida. Drop in the comments down below and let me know what you guys think about that. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please do like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And there's some crazy laws which are actually taking place across the US right now when it comes to legalization. So check this video out because it's really interesting, and find out if your state is going to be affected, because it's coming up right now.
Shout out to Mass New Channel. Like I said, y'all know to go sub up. Keep up with the new shits. Keep up with the new ones. Glad to hear he got his legal license like he was trying to get. You know, that's what we all trying to do. Elevate, meditate, right?
Kidney detox superheroes of Nutriville. In the vibrant town of Nutriville, where health and happiness flourish, there lived 5 friends. Alex the apple, Carly the cranberry, Sam the spinach, Gina the ginger, and Toby the turmeric. They had a special mission to keep the residents' kidneys healthy and happy. One sunny day, they gathered by the sparkling Nutri River, their favorite meeting spot. Alex the apple was the first to speak. Hey friends, they're like superheroes for the kidneys, helping people ride bikes, scooters, and enjoy the outdoors by keeping their bodies balanced and healthy. Carly the cranberry nodded. That's right. We're like little kidney superheroes. We help flush out toxins and keep those kidneys clean. Sam the spinach added, and we're packed with vitamins and minerals that give kidneys the strength they need to work their best. Gina the ginger chimed in. Plus, we have antioxidants that fight off harmful invaders and protect those hardworking kidneys. Toby the turmeric grinned, and let's not forget my special powder, curcumin. Curcumin helps reduce inflammation and supports the overall well-being of the kidneys. As they talked, the Nutriville residents started incorporating these superfoods into their meals. They made colorful salads, tasty smoothies, and hearty stews. With each bite, they knew they were giving their kidneys the love and care they deserved. And so, in Nutriville, these fruit and veggie friends continue to spread their kidney detoxifying magic. They showed everyone that taking care of their
like
kidneys wasn't just
2:45
about
right
a
here at
quick
that 3
cleanse.
o'clock
It
feeling.
was about nourishing and supporting these vital organs with Faith's 100 power. Remember, friends, you can be a kidney hero too by enjoying the goodness of cranberries, apples, spinach, ginger, garlic, and turmeric. Ready to be a superhero through your health? Visit www.superfoodparents.com and join the Nutriville community to learn how to nourish your body like the residents of this vibrant town.
Shout out to my video sponsors.
Hey everyone, happy Sunday evening. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and thanks for checking into our latest TDR Trade to Black podcast as we kick off a new weekly feature where we dive into this week's biggest developments in the ever-evolving cannabis industry. And this week has been nothing short of eventful. From policy shifts to moves and the state markets, we've got a lot to unpack. So, let's dive into it. Let's start with number one off the top. So long, Mr. Joe Biden. As President Donald
Sleepy
Trump
Joe
is set to be
OG.
sworn in tomorrow, current President Joe Biden made one last move before leaving office. On Friday, he pardoned as many as 2,500 people. With regards to cannabis, President Biden's views on it began with his 2022 presidential proclamation pardoning thousands convicted of simple marijuana possession. Fast forward to December 2023, and Biden extended those pardons to include offenses for attempted possession and useful marijuana. This move has removed barriers to employment, housing, and education for countless Americans. But the big news came in 2024. The administration proposed reclassifying marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug under the Controlled Substance Act. This shift acknowledged its medical
Schedule
uses
3,
and
huh?
reduces the tax burden on legal cannabis businesses. While it's not full legalization, it's a step forward aligning federal law with state-level realities.
Still a problem.
The HHS and the DOJ
I can't
are
just go
steering
outside
this
and throw it
effort,
in the
making
garden.
clear that change could be on the horizon.
Worry about
However,
the
and this is
bugs
important,
and
these measures do not equate
pests
to any
eating it.
legalization or reform, which is the legacy the Biden administration will leave behind. It remains a contentious and
Nobody gonna
ongoing
come steal your
legislative
weed when they can grow their
discussion.
own.
So ball's in your court now, Mr. Trump. Let's see where he goes from here. Let's turn now to the public sector, where Trulieve made waves in Ohio, opening a new dispensary in Zanesville, located on Maple Avenue. This marks their latest push in the state's growing market. CEO Kim Rivers calls it exciting new chapter for Truliev's relationship with Muskingum County. Open daily with express pickup services, Trulieve is aiming to set the bar for convenience and quality. For investors, it's a reminder that Ohio is one of the emerging hotspots for cannabis retail. Let's now move south to Florida, where the legalization debate is heating up once again. After narrowly missing the 60% supermajority needed in November, the Smart and Safe Florida campaign is back with a revamped initiative for 2026. The new proposal addresses key concerns like banning public consumption and restricting products that might appeal to kids. Advocates are optimistic, but with Governor Ron DeSantis and Attorney Ashley Moody likely to oppose, it'll be an uphill battle. Still, with polling showing strong public support, Florida could be on the cusp of making history, and oh, we hope so, for those in support of the industry. Next, here's one for the business-minded. The U.S. Cannabis Roundtable is officially here. Both the USCC and NCR announced this week that they're combining both agencies to create better synergy when speaking with the Trump administration. This advocacy group brings together industry giants like Cresco Labs, Trulieve, and Curaleaf to push for federal reform. Their focus, reclassifying cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 and securing much-needed banking reform. With Trump returning to the White House and a wave of pro-cannabis sentiment building, the industry is optimistic about the future. So, remains to be seen. Now let's look beyond the U.S. and look at Germany. High Tide made a bold move getting into Germany this week. They've acquired a 51% stake in PureCan GmbH, tapping into a medical cannabis market projected to hit €1 billion by 2028. With import licenses and telemedicine capabilities, this acquisition positions High Tide for long-term success. This coming from a company that we all know knows how to scale. And finally, the biggest news of the week, the ALJ hearing was further delayed when Judge John Mulrooney announced that he was canceling the rescheduled hearing for January 21st.
Good to see you. How you doing? Cheers right back to you.
But savvy
I know go
investors
check out
see
Poppin'
it
Seeds.
as a
Good
calculated
content
move
over
to
there.
ensure a fair process.
Something $3
Look,
for.
the stakes couldn't be higher as rescheduling would open up doors to tax breaks and institutional investment. So what did you all think of the announcement by Judge John Mulrooney? Did you like it? Are you frustrated you have to wait a little longer? Something the cannabis industry knows all too well? Leave your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. So that's it, everyone, for this week's Trade to Black business developments for the week in cannabis. If you want to stay up to date with the daily information, make sure to scan this QR code and subscribe to our
If y'all
baked-in
looking for
newsletter.
somebody to
It's delivered
sponsor
to
Beat
your
Out the Beat,
inbox daily at
could
8
definitely use some
a.m.
help over
Eastern
there
time.
with keeping up
As
with
usual, if you have
expenses.
time, make sure to smash that like button, click
Motion
on that
New
bell
Soul,
for
what's
all
cracking like and good to
notifications,
see you.
and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. We greatly appreciate it. Here we go, everyone. Get ready. Tomorrow morning, President Donald Trump is being sworn in, leaving many who are in support of this cannabis industry hoping for
Y'all need to
change.
go check out
Only
the
hope
big
so.
homie.
Thanks again, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next Sunday for a full recap of the biggest developments for the week in cannabis.
Wow, that's Snoop Dogg, the Godfather. I hit that blunt, I'm going to see the father. Damn, Earth was cool. Oh, this gas, 93 octane. God, take me now. Hey, cool it. He got another one sparked already. He being unreasonable. This beyond me if he think I'm finna hit that blunt again. Heavens, no, I'm high, bucko. I'm puzzled. I'm finna give it right back to him and tell him I hit it 10 times already. I'm finna call 911 and report an attempted murder. He keep passing me blunts. He think we in a relay race. What a bummer. I'm finna put this out, and if he asks why, I'm gonna tell him I'm allergic to marijuana. Weed for me
He
stand for
put the
with
blunt
each
out and put it
exhale,
in
I'm
his
about
pocket.
to die. He gotta knock it off. I done already took 2 blunts. He done sparked a third one. Smoke monster. I'm finna play sleep. I'm comatose. Big fella, you took that blunt to the head. Now you finna be in the nearest hospital bed. This ain't the move. I'm finna scoot. He a different
channel. She does infused edibles. Let me actually show y'all her channel since y'all don't think I'm just over here creeping for no good reason. You know, we actually support the community out here. You dig? Yeah, you can leave that creep shit for wherever it goes. She be down with Dankarella. That's why I made sure we went over and did the promo. But anyways, back to what we was doing, because I digress. I mean, y'all already know I ain't creeping on nothing. Hell, I'm keeping it on the low. Let's see, back to the playlist. Let's see, right back like you never left. And then we got this Outkast song playing in the background, but y'all already know we monetized on Buy Me a Coffee. Hell, YouTube ain't gonna fucking restrict my money. You can get 0% of nothing. I'll take it. Yeah, that was infused sweet potato
Everybody
pie.
in New York was calling to get down
Good
with
wham.
the nice guy. We met all kinds of customers, like this guy here. He's what we call an enhancement smoker, because he thinks that marijuana makes every activity that much better.
Casa su casa.
Observe.
You're Scarface, right? Yeah. I love Al Pacino, man. Did you ever see Son of a Woman? Yup. You ever seen Son of a Woman on weed? That's the way to see it, man. It's just whack.
Pow!
$60, yo. It's cool, man. I got it. Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill, man? No, I don't know, yo. Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill? On weed? Oh, there's some weird shit in there, man. There's a dude sitting in the bushes, man. Does he have a gun? I don't know, man. I don't know. What? Red team go. Red team go. It's just some weird shit, man. Man, you fucking crazy, yo. Oh, it's cool. Thanks, man. Hey, yo, wait. Dude, I'm gonna check out the stars later. It's really trippy. Especially on weed, man.
Coming up on Cannabis Coast to Coast News this week, the industry takes the wrong kind of hit this week when DEA Judge John Mulrooney cancels future hearings on rescheduling cannabis off Schedule 1 of the CSA. Now all hope for reform in 2025 is in the new administration's hands as the transition to a Republican control of Congress is complete. Plus, an Ohio mom goes viral when she gets a bonus at a Burger King drive-thru.
You see that? You can't say that on here, Mary Jane.
Yes, that employee was fired on the spot, and the Burger King chain confirms his termination and condones the incident. And High Times CEO Adam Levin pleads guilty to securities fraud after a scam he orchestrated scam money from investors 4 years ago. Plus, at first you don't succeed, try again, right? Florida cannabis advocates start the process for another adult use ballot initiative for 2026. They'll face another uphill battle for a 60% approval to change that state's constitution. And a THC overdose in Washington State puts a new user in the hospital, and now he's suing the dispensary. Plus, an update on the California wildfires from the author of the Cannabis newsletter, Jackie Bryant in San Diego. All that and state reports from coast to coast on Cannabis Coast to Coast with Elena Pinto next.
Alright, y'all know how we do. I ain't in a rush to get rid of y'all, but we are in a rush to
Hi
get where we're
everyone, welcome to
going.
this week's edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, PCM TV's production of the news
Y'all
from the
won't even
cannabis
notice,
industry
will you?
from coast to coast.
Leave it in the comments if
Another
you
reminder
see.
that the easiest way to get access to the show is by downloading the app PCM Space TV on the App Store or Google Play. Just scan the QR code and it will take you there. But remember to add a space between PCM and TV in your search for the app to pop right up. Our top story this week is a continuation of the DEA's process to reschedule cannabis off Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. This time, Judge John Mulrooney put a hard stop on future hearings, blaming the DEA for delaying tactics and handpicked expert testimony from a majority of prohibitionists. Mulrooney postponed any future hearings for at least 3 months and is expecting the new administration to make changes at the top of that federal agency. In his decision, Mulrooney said this about the favoritism exhibited by the head of the DEA, Ann Milgram, saying, quote, "If true, viewed in the best light, these allegations demonstrate a puzzling and grotesque lack of understanding and poor judgment from high-level officials at a major federal agency with a wealth of prior experience with the Administrative Procedures Act." Mulrooney also added that the DEA's refusal to comply with orders was, quote, unprecedented and astonishing. Plus, the DEA's behavior through this whole process was, again, quote, a disturbing and embarrassing revelation. The industry had hoped these hearings would have been completed by the time the new administration takes over Congress, but the DEA's delaying tactics and less than fair hand-picking of expert testimony accomplished nothing, basically thwarting outgoing President Biden's hope that this could have been done before he left office.
Appreciate
and
all
now,
the 10 likes that we got on the video.
In charge in the White House,
Y'all know to
Donald
keep
Trump.
supporting the
With more
network.
from Washington, D.C., here's Andrew Behringer.
I'm Andrew Behringer with the Washington, D.C. report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. In a significant development for federal cannabis policy, Administrative Law Judge John Mulrooney has suspended the highly anticipated cannabis rescheduling hearings that were set to begin next week. The decision comes after allegations of improper conduct between the DEA officials and anti-rescheduling witnesses. Pro-rescheduling advocates claim the DEA conspired with witnesses opposing the schedule change, leading to what they call irrevocable tainting of the process. The allegations were serious enough that some parties sought to remove the DEA from the proceedings entirely. The case, which could potentially move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act, now rests with DEA Administrator Ann Milgram. If approved, the rescheduling would allow licensed cannabis businesses to take federal tax deductions and ease certain research restrictions. The DEA has faced mounting criticism throughout this process, with Judge Mulrooney himself describing their handling of evidence submission as unprecedented and astonishing. The agency has struggled with managing public comments and issuing proper subpoenas to DEA officials. Multiple stakeholders, including health professionals and veteran groups, have raised concerns about the exclusion from the proceedings. The Justice Department has requested a pause on regulated federal litigation until these procedural issues are resolved. While the delay creates uncertainty for the rescheduling timeline, Judge Mulrooney suggests that the appeal could prevent extensive delays in the future. The court has mandated quarterly updates on the appeal status, with participants having 15 days to file their appeals. Well, that's it. That's the DC report. I'm Andrew Behringer reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
There is some hope for the 119th Congress that is now controlled by the Republican Party. U.S. Representative Dina Titus from Nevada is going to try again to get momentum for federal reform. Of course, industry advocates have heard this before. It's why we call 1 step forward, 2 steps backward cannabis standard time, and nothing ever seems to move the needle towards rescheduling, smart banking reform, and research, or social justice. And that is what the current Congress has on its plate. And while Titus is ready to prioritize these changes, lobbyists have been hearing the same thing for years, even dating back to the first Trump presidency. Aaron Smith is the executive director of the NCIA, and PCM TV founder Jimmy Young talked with him this week about the merger of two major lobbyist groups in D.C., the U.S. Cannabis Council and the National Cannabis Roundtable. Here's Jimmy and Aaron.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to a very special edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, one-on-one. I'm PCM TV founder Jimmy Young, and I'm so proud to be joined by the executive director of the National Cannabis Industry Association. His name is Aaron Smith. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us once again to talk about what the heck is going on with this crazy industry.
It's always great to be here, man.
Hey, so it's a crazy week. You know, you open up the news on Monday, and the next thing you know is Judge John Mulrooney decides, you know what? DEA's been screwing with this process for a long time. We're going to cancel these next set of hearings, and all the people that were invited are going to have to be postponed. And he says, we'll wait for the new administration. And I also thought he took some pretty fierce targeted shots at Ann Milgram, the head of the DEA, didn't he?
Yeah, indeed. And, I'll just say from the start, this is not a strategy that NCIA was behind or they're happy about by any means. There are some folks who are also on the cannabis rescheduling side of the argument did uncovered some not too surprising information about how the DEA had been biased through the process and felt that it was advantageous to order this appeal and thereby delay proceedings. And so the way this works now is we're kind of in uncharted territory. We don't know exactly how long. We've got the way that it looks as though is that every 90 days that the DEA administrator needs to check in with the court and what the progress is of this, but there's no actual order of when hearings resume. So it's an unfortunate development for sure.
Yeah, and it's a setback, let's face it, if you look at it that way. Uncharted territory is a great way to describe the incoming administration in Washington, D.C., a Republican-controlled three branches of government at this point, because, you know, he did make some appointments that are still sitting on the Supreme Court. That, of course, will be the president-elect, and actually, by the time this interview airs, he will be the president inaugurated, Donald Trump. And we all have our own political feelings about it, but at this point, we have no way to change the result. So accepting the result and working within the framework of this Republican control is going to be an interesting new challenge for all lobbyists, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And on the, back to the rescheduling front, we don't know who the DEA administrator will be. Hasn't been appointed yet. We know Pam Bondi is likely to be the Attorney General there who oversees the DEA, but the concern that we have is that the way that this process works is that, yes, DEA have been, biased, but this is the DEA's administrative court. This isn't like an independent court, like a district court or, the appellate court. So the judge is in no way able to remove the DEA from the proceedings because the DEA, they're in the driver's seat. So what they've done is they've said, well, let's appeal the ruling that the DEA can't be removed, but they're appealing it to the DEA. So now, and the judge has decided, well, let's wait till the next DEA administrator is here. I think that probably the people, Village Farms and Hemp for Victory, which is backed by pretty much, a lot of the common names that you hear out there, the bigger MSOs, these people sometimes, they tend to think that they're the smartest people in the room when it comes to public advocacy and policy, but just because they're good at business or, because they're lucky at business, however you want to look at it. And it's unfortunate because now we're in a situation where we have a new unknown incoming administrator who would need to make this a priority to get things started in the first 100 days. As in the past, before this ruling, the new administrator would have to have made it a priority to roll things back. So now doing nothing on their part will stifle progress. As in the past, they would have had to really take an action because we would have already had a head start with the hearing. The first couple of hearings would have happened already before they came in. So we're looking at every potential way to try to get things back on track, but it's going to be a tough road.
The entirety of that interview is available on our PCMTV app and on the homepage procannabismedia.com. In this past election, Florida voters had a chance to pass a constitutional amendment opening the market to all adults over the age of 21. Just under 57% of voters there did say yes to that question, including incoming President-elect Donald Trump, or at least he said he would. Now, the same people who drove that campaign, Smart and Save Florida, are starting their efforts for the next federal election in 2026. Over $100 million was spent on advertising for both sides of this initiative. Certainly, commercial media outlets in the Sunshine State are celebrating if that question garners as much attention and funding as the last one. Well, now let's start our state reports with Pam Schmiel in New York.
This is Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Pam Schmiel, reporting from New York. Last week, the New York State Supreme Court ruled that the New York City Sheriff's Office and Office of Cannabis Management must stop conducting raids without a warrant on unlicensed cannabis storefronts. And to further complicate things, the New York City Sheriff's Office has admitted to disposing of evidence they've confiscated from these raids. And the Office of Cannabis Management has neglected to test these products to confirm they contain marijuana and not hemp, which is legal under federal law. Then there is the question of the missing money that has been confiscated from these raids and is yet to be resolved. While most people want these illegal storefronts shut down, there is an outcry over the need for due process in our legal system to avoid a war on drugs like we've experienced in the past. And a group of social equity dispensary owners who were recipients of New York State's now-failed loan program is suing the state for loan forgiveness. You may remember that the Chicago Atlantic Investment Group had promised to fund these social equity business owners, but the loans came with a high interest rate and inflated licensing fees for their dispensaries. The New York partnership with the Chicago Atlantic Group began to dissolve after accusations of gross mismanagement by high-profile fund managers like basketball star Chris Webber, and why they were allowed to pay themselves over $2 million in fund fees. Lastly, New York activists are lobbying for Cannabis Health Coverage Act in the state capitol on March 11th. This would require state-funded health insurance entities to cover medical cannabis. That's this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Pam Schmiel, reporting from New York.
Minnesota continues to struggle to get their new adult use market up and running, and advocates and pro-cannabis legislators have targeted this year of 2025 as the year for launch. Now lawmakers in that state have pushed that back until 2026, as all the news, rules, and regulations have to be written from scratch. Right now, the only legal way to buy cannabis in Minnesota is on tribal lands. Meanwhile, in Virginia, another adult use bill has been introduced in that state's legislature. You might remember that state passed an adult use legal bill last year only to see their governor, Glenn Youngkin, veto it. Sure enough, in his State of the Address this week, the governor there said he would veto it again if it passed the legislature. Here's our man in Virginia, Joe Parsons, with more.
I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is the Virginia Cannabis Report on Cannabis Coast to Coast News. In 2021, Virginia
So
was
now you
leading
got
the
to
way
vote
for
his
fighting
ass
against
up out
prohibition,
of
the first southern
here,
state to
and
adopt
then
not only a
re-vote
medical
for some
cannabis
shit
use
you already
program,
voted for.
but the
That's
first to
that
legalize
bullshit.
recreational use by adults 21 and over. Adult use sales
Well,
were
this
set
is
to
already
begin by
approved, but he
2024.
keeps saying
But
no.
ever
Who
since
the fuck is
Republican
he?
Governor Glenn Youngkin
Who
took office
voted
in
for him?
2022, he's been a staunch opponent to adult use
See,
and has been doing
gotta use
everything
your
in his power
power.
to prevent implementing the retail market, a market
Whoever
that was
put
the
him
will
in
of the people
office
of the
had to vote for
Commonwealth
him.
since 2021. Last year, he was quick to veto not only the adult use retail bill, but any other cannabis-related bill, no matter how important it was to both people with cannabis-only convictions, but also parents that could potentially lose custody or visitation rights due to use of a statewide legal substance. He even went on record with off-color jokes like, anyone who thinks I'm signing that bill must be smoking something. Delegate Paul Krizik and Senator Aaron Rouse, the two key Democrats that got last year's bill passed on both Senate and House chambers with bipartisan support, are not wasting any time to put a new bill for the 2025 session. They have decided to make only minor adjustments to the new bill, as last year's bill was well received by both parties. Delegate Krizik and Senator Rouse know how important this bill is, not only to ensure a safe and fair marketplace, but to have tested, taxable products that could in turn help decrease the increasing legacy pop-up market that is exploding in Virginia due to the lack of that adult market. Governor Youngkin, in his speech at the State of the Commonwealth address, reiterated a similar message from his veto message last spring, a message we all in the industry expected. He said, everyone knows where I stand on establishing a retail marijuana market, encouraging instead to focus on other issues we can find common ground on. This stance is a slight surprise in lieu of the newly elected President Donald Trump's new revised position on cannabis policy, including implementing adult use in other states, such as Florida. However, Youngkin stuck to his usual playbook by repeating his message from last year. He alleges that jurisdictions with a regulated adult use market have experienced significant negative impacts on mental health and adolescent safety. In his veto statement last year, he quoted surveys and research documents that were literally years out of date and used excuses that prohibitionists have been using to invoke fear for years. The fact is that federally funded survey data reports that teens' use of marijuana is at historically lows, especially in states with adult use laws. Studies from both the U.S. and Canada have also failed to identify a relationship between marijuana legalization and increased instances of psychiatric illness among either high-risk individuals and the general public. Virginia NORML Director J.M. Padini has pushed back on these claims and said what's actually bad for the youth is leaving the control of Virginia's marijuana market to illicit operators. While Paul Krizik and Aaron Rouse know that Youngkin will probably veto another bill once it's passed on the floor, they also know that a safe and fair marketplace is worth the effort. And while Youngkin is not able to run for a consecutive term for governor, it will set precedent to the next governor, though this is an issue that we will continue to fight for and that we will not give up on. I, for one, will be following this every step of the way. So stay tuned to Pro Cannabis Media for all the latest to this story as it develops. Well, that's going to do it for this week. From the Virginia Cannabis Connection and reporting from Cannabis Coast to Coast News, I'm Joe Parsons. Until next time, stay lifted.
That will do it for the A block or first section of this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News, but we have many more state reports coming up next, including the story of the Ohio mom who went through a Burger King drive-thru and got a bonus she was not expecting. The news continues after this.
If you look down in there, you can see some residue. She got her chicken fries. Chicken fries with the side of... Do you see that? You can't say that on here. Mary Jane.
Ready to take your craft to the next level? Imagine faster extractions, purer products, and more profits. Sounds good, right?
And they got an
At Pure 5
advertiser on
Extraction,
there.
we've revolutionized cannabis extraction with our game-changing technology. No solvents, no heat, just the cleanest, most natural process on the market.
Let's see
Whether you're a
what we got
boutique grower
left.
or a large-scale operation, Pure
Oh,
5
yeah,
has
that's
the
a
tools
great-
to elevate your business worldwide.
great way to end
Visit
the video.
pure5extraction.com today. Pure 5 Extraction, because your plants deserve the best.
Let's turn this back to normal. So I definitely don't want to hear that all chopped and screwed up. Chop, 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 doody, chop, chop, chop. It's a good song though. Shouts out to Higher Desert Exotic. I know we'll check on them every Friday and Sunday. Or catch back up with the replay on the playlist.